Before we get into this DIY acrylic calendar video, I wanted to start with a little disclaimer. I am not a professional Cricut maker. This is actually my first time doing a full project with it, but this was a fairly easy, I wouldn't say beginner friendly, but a fairly easy project to complete. I've had my eye on those really cute acrylic calendars for a little while now, and once I found out the price point for the size that I needed, I just decided to make my own. I purchased my design file off of Etsy after doing some research, and I got straight to it. Customizing the template in my design studio was the first thing that I had to do, and then I just printed out the vinyl. Once I printed out the vinyl, I had to do the weeding process. This was the most time-consuming process, but it also was oddly very relaxing. Because of the size of the calendar that I wanted, this project ended up being 4 of the 12 by 24 matte sheets long. The materials for this project were very inexpensive. I purchased the acrylic sheet from my local Home Depot for $46. I purchased 2 rolls of vinyl from my local Hobby Lobby for $5 each, and then the other products I had at home. You will see later on in this video that I used gold standoffs to mount the calendar to my wall, which were purchased off of Amazon for about $12. So overall, the project cost me less than $80, which isn't bad for the size that I printed, especially because the going rate for those calendars are starting at $120. So here I am, just weeding off the excess vinyl, making sure to not break any of my lines in my design, and preparing to use some contact paper to place the design on the acrylic sheet.
Bodyguards don't look like Kevin Costner, you tweaking. Just pulled up to Whitney, Houston, Texas for the evening. They tell the same story so much they start to believe it. The ones that start like Drizzy shit was cool, but we even. Man, how the fuck? 2, 4, 6, 8 watches factory so they appreciate. Crown in my hand and I'm really playing keep away. Shit don't even usually get this big without a beaver face. Nah, piece of cake. Nah, Turks and cake. Yeah. Go and get your friends, we can sneak away. Yeah, I keep her like I keep the faith. Wonder how I got this way. Calling my phone like I'm locked up non-stop. From the plane to the fucking helicopter.
Now that I've completed the weeding process, I am now going to transfer my design onto the transfer paper.
Calling my phone like I'm locked up non-stop. From the plane to the fucking helicopter. Yeah, cops pulling up like I'm giving drugs out. Nah, I'm a pop star, not a doctor. Hey, shorty with the long text, I don't talk. Shorty with the long legs, she don't walk. Yeah, last year I kept it on the tuck. Hey, 2020 I came to fuck it up. Yeah, I want a long life, a legendary one. I want a quick death and an easy one. I want a pretty girl and an honest one. I want this drink and another one. Yeah, and I'm troublesome. Yeah, I'm a pop star, but this shit ain't bubble gum. Yeah, you would probably think my manager is Scooter Braun. Yeah, but my manager was 20 hoes from Budokan. Yeah, hey, look, Ariana, Selena, my visa. It can take as many charges as it needs to, my girl. That shit platinum just like all of my releases, my girl. Niggas come for me, I tear them all to pieces, my girl. I'ma show your sexy ass what relief is, my girl. Please don't take no shit that's like that. How you
Throughout the transfer process, you'll see me going back and forth with my acrylic tools on the back, just to make sure that the design is sticking to the side that I need it to release on. I am then going to carefully pull back the backing so that way my design is ready to stick directly onto my acrylic sheet.
Plane to the fucking helicopter, yeah. Cops pulling up like I'm giving drugs out. Nah, I'm a pop star, not a doctor. I'm a pop star, not a doctor. Watch her, said she rep a whole different block, so I blocked her. Busy at the crib, cooking, slamming with the lobster. If we talking joints, it's just me and David Foster. 6'8", watch his factory so they appreciate. Crown in my hand and I'm really playing keep away. Shit don't even usually get this big without a beaver face.
Once I've separated my design from my backing, I'm ready to prep my board. I used some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel just to wipe down any excess fingerprints, any dust, just to make the transferring process seamless and so that I wouldn't have any marks underneath my design. Now this had to be the hardest part of the process. Before I even started, I made sure to take a marker and I just outlined where I needed all the different aspects of the calendar to be placed. That was my guide that I'm using here to lay down the actual design. The one thing with this is you have to make sure that you're measuring it up and you're placing it exactly where you want it to, because once it hits that acrylic board, there's no turning back. I did have to go back a couple of times and reprint the design and make some edits to some of the areas just because once it laid flat, I didn't like the positioning, but that process of removing permanent vinyl from this acrylic board wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's not the easiest process either. So once I have my design in the position that I want it to, I peel off the front of the contact paper and I'm ready to move on to the next section. I repeated this process until I placed every section of the calendar. The design was broken up into about 4 or 5 sections. So I went section by section, placing every element of the calendar where I needed it to go, making sure that the design laid flat, and then peeling off the excess transfer paper. Once that process was done, I was ready to hang it. But my husband got ahead of me and hung it by himself, so here's the final look.
Take no shit that's like that, how you geeking, and I'm not dropping nothing.